She never expected you to walk away. She assumed your loyalty was permanent, that no matter how far she wandered, you'd still be there, waiting, watching, hoping. To her, you were the fallback, the quiet, reliable man in the background, not the storm, not the one who disappears and doesn't come back. But something happened. Not a fight, not a final goodbye, just silence. You stopped chasing her energy. You stopped needing her attention to feel like a man. You stopped waiting for her to notice your worth. And that shift, subtle but seismic, rattled her. It wasn't sadness. It was confusion first, then discomfort, then regret. Because now she's questioning what she really walked away from. Was it just a man who once loved her? Or was it a man who evolved into everything she never believed he could be? And here you are, not playing games, not seeking revenge. You're here because you've been through the storm. You've sat with the silence, the detachment, the ache of letting go. Or maybe, just maybe, you've already started to rebuild. Wherever you are in your journey, you're not alone. And if this message hits you in the chest, if it mirrors a truth you've been carrying in silence, then make it count. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop one word below that defines who you're becoming. Unshakable, because here at the Stoic Spirit, we don't chase, we don't beg, we rise, we rebuild, we become the shift. There comes a moment in every man's life when something inside him quietly breaks and then rebuilds itself in silence. Not because she came back, not because closure arrived, not because time healed him, but because he stopped. He stopped chasing something that had already let go of him. He stopped orbiting a woman who had long stopped revolving around him. He stopped looking for signs in silence, meaning in absence, and worth in someone else's validation. And here's the truth. Most men miss. Chasing isn't always about texting, calling, or pleading. Sometimes chasing is emotional. It's mental. It's spiritual. It's when your thoughts still follow her, even when your feet don't. It's when you check her online status like it's a habit hardwired into your nervous system. It's when you rehearse conversations in your head that she's no longer interested in having. This kind of chasing is invisible, but it drains you all the same. Silently, slowly, powerfully. But then, one day, a shift begins. Not loud, not dramatic, but undeniable. You wake up. You realize you're tired of waiting for the message that never comes. Tired of decoding silence like it's a secret language. Tired of tying your self-worth to someone who already chose distance. And so, you stop. Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. You don't need a final message. You don't write a dramatic goodbye. There is no emotional announcement. The shift happens within, quiet, steady, real. Your mind begins to reclaim space, the space she used to occupy. The mental real estate you'd been renting out to memories, to hope, to illusions. That space, it's valuable, and now it's yours again. You stop scrolling her page. You stop checking if she watched your story. You stop caring when she was last online. Instead, you start investing in what matters. Your mind, your body, your craft, your peace. The energy that once fed a fading connection now nourishes your own evolution. You're no longer orbiting her world. You're building your own. And for the first time in a long time, that feels right. And this is the part that most men don't expect. She feels it, not always consciously, not in obvious ways, but energetically. She senses the shift. That quiet tension she once knew how to pull is gone. That emotional string she used to tug to test if you still cared, it's been cut. You're not cold. You're not cruel. You're just gone. Emotionally, spiritually, unavailable in a way she never imagined. And it disorients her. She was used to you responding. She was used to your emotional availability, even when you weren't physically around. She believed she held a space in your heart that was untouchable. But now, that space is quiet, still, closed. And here's what most women never expect. Emotional power is something they often take for granted until it's gone. You were her emotional anchor, whether she admitted it or not. But when you chose yourself, truly chose yourself, she lost that influence. Not because you needed to prove something, but because you stopped negotiating your worth. You stopped trading your peace for potential. You stopped bending for someone who stopped meeting you halfway. And something sacred happens in that moment. You return to yourself, fully, without explanation, without conflict, without permission. And that, brother, is the real shift. Not revenge, not emotional games, not trying to make her regret it, but rising, quietly, with dignity, with self-respect. You realize your value doesn't live in her perception of you. Your strength isn't rooted in whether she sees it, and your peace isn't something she can grant or take away. You've reclaimed your center. The ground beneath your feet feels solid again. And here's the irony. The moment you stop needing her energy is the exact moment she starts feeling yours disappear. Because when you finally stop chasing mentally, emotionally, energetically, you become a man she can no longer read, no longer access, no longer move. And that silence, it speaks louder than any final text ever could. The psychology, most men are never taught this. Not by their fathers, not by society, not even by their own experiences, until it's too late. They grow up believing that love means sacrifice, and that emotional support, no matter how one-sided, is a virtue. But what no one teaches you is this: emotional availability is a currency, and like any currency, its value depends on scarcity and where it's spent. Give too much of it to someone who doesn't value it, and its worth collapses. You thought that showing up, being there, listening, caring, checking in, was evidence of strength. You thought your patience proved loyalty. Your vulnerability proved depth. Your consistency made you irreplaceable. And in a way, it did, but only to a point. There's a hidden cost to being endlessly emotionally available. You become invisible. Not because she's cruel, not because she's manipulating you, but because human nature devalues what feels permanent. What's always there becomes background noise, like music in another room, pleasant, familiar, and completely taken for granted. Even if she walks away, even if she dates someone else, even if she blocks you, ghosts you, or says she's doing it, somewhere deep in her mind, she still believes you care, still believes you're checking her stories, still believes you'd answer her if she ever reached out, still believes you haven't really moved on. That belief, it's her emotional safety net, not because she plans to return, but because she's convinced you're still orbiting emotionally, mentally, energetically. Now imagine what happens when that net disappears. No closure, no dramatic last message, no visible collapse, just silence. Not the kind that waits for a response, the kind that no longer needs one. You're gone, not physically, but emotionally. No reaction, not chasing, no curiosity about where she is or who she's with. And that breaks the psychological pattern. She expected grief. She expected longing. She expected you to hurt loudly. But instead, you healed quietly. And that's disarming, because now she has to reconsider everything she assumed about her role in your life. Your detachment isn't loud, but it's powerful. It short-circuits the emotional script she wrote for you. She expected to be missed, to be watched, to live rent-free in your emotional world. But now, she can't find the door anymore. And human beings hate confusion, especially when they once held control. So what happens next? Reflection. Not out loud, not in a message, not on social media, but deep within. A quiet conversation starts in her head. Did I misread him? Was he more stable than I thought? Did I mistake his softness for weakness? These aren't ego questions. They're questions born from the collapse of a comfort zone. She saw you as emotional, reactive, attached. She thought you'd wait, stay broken, remain predictable. But now, she sees something else. You evolved. Not for her, not because she left, but because something inside you clicked. You were giving too much to someone who never asked for it. And so, you stopped. And in that stillness, you took something back. Power. Not power to control her. Power to no longer be controlled by her absence. She no longer controls your mood with her silence. She no longer triggers your anxiety with delayed replies. She no longer owns the emotional remote in your hand. And when that power is removed, a vacuum is created. She feels it, not always consciously, but deeply. Her emotional world is disrupted, and in that space, a mirror appears, not a mirror of you, a mirror of herself. She starts seeing what she chose, the patterns she repeats, the kind of man she let go, the way she always assumed love would wait forever. And it stings, not always because she wants you back, but because now she doesn't get to be part of your transformation. You're no longer a supporting role in her narrative. She's been written out of yours. And what replaced her? Purpose, discipline, growth, not as a performance, not to be seen, but because you finally saw yourself. She's no longer comparing you to who you were. She's now comparing herself to who you've become. And if your evolution outpaces hers emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that reflection becomes painful, not jealousy, not rage, but an uncomfortable truth. I no longer have influence in the story I used to control. And that's what true detachment creates. It's not just about letting go. It's about becoming someone unreachable to the person who used to control you without even realizing it. So the next time you think silence is passive, remember this. Silence is not emptiness. It's a message. It says, I don't owe you an explanation. I don't need you to understand. I made peace without your permission. That's not weakness. That's not spite. That's psychological sovereignty, the kind of power no one gives you, because it's the kind you take back the moment you stop chasing and start leading yourself. The power of silence. There's a kind of strength that doesn't speak. It doesn't shout. It doesn't explain itself, but it changes everything. It's called silence. Most men never learn this strength, because it doesn't look like what we've been taught to admire. It doesn't dominate. It doesn't demand. It simply withdraws quietly, completely, not out of fear, not out of spite, but out of power. True silence is not emptiness. It's the final form of clarity, the kind you reach when you've said enough, felt enough, and finally understand that nothing more needs to be said. You're not ignoring her. You're honoring yourself. You've tried. You've expressed. You've extended grace. You gave chances, even when they weren't earned. But now, You give yourself distance, not to punish her, but to protect your peace, and that's what she notices. At first, it's subtle. She may not even realize it's happening, but slowly, it builds. The stillness, the absence of reaction, the space where you used to respond, explain, justify. It's gone. She expected tension. She expected you to flinch, to prove you still cared, to fight for what was already broken. Instead, you offer silence, and that silence speaks more than any words ever could. It tells her, I'm no longer trying to fix what disrespected me. I don't need to be heard to know I'm right. My peace is more valuable than this cycle. That's the moment everything shifts. She used to hold power in your mind, even in absence. She knew how to pull your strings with silence, delay, distance. But now, your silence isn't reactive. It's not a strategy. It's a state of being. You've stopped explaining, stopped chasing closure, stopped needing her to understand your worth. That's the real evolution. It's not about making her regret. It's not about waiting for her to notice. It's about no longer needing her to. You've reclaimed your energy, redirected it back into your body, your goals, your discipline, into your peace. And the man who lives in peace, he becomes a mirror she wasn't ready to look into, a reflection of everything she underestimated, because now you're not seeking approval. You're living with conviction. You're not replaying old conversations. You're writing new chapters. That quiet confidence, it's unshakable because it isn't built on attention. It's built on self-respect. And here's what most women don't expect. Your silence doesn't beg. It doesn't perform. It doesn't punish. It just is. It stands, unmoving, undeniable. And in that silence, she starts hearing everything she never listened to before. She starts remembering the man who once gave too much, the man who bent, who tried, who waited. And now, that man is gone. Not bitter, not broken, but reborn. You didn't go quiet out of weakness. You went quiet because growth doesn't announce itself. It simply moves forward. So when she checks your page, sends a message, tries to feel where you used to be, she'll feel something unfamiliar. Stillness. You've stopped being available. Not just online, but emotionally, spiritually. You're not cold. You're centered. You're not avoiding. You're aligned. And that shift, it's irreversible, because silence, when rooted in self-respect, is louder than any speech, any explanation, any final goodbye. It says, I no longer respond to your absence. I no longer live to be chosen. I no longer ask to be seen. You've stopped waiting. You've stopped hoping. You've stopped spinning in circles. Now you walk forward, eyes ahead, voice kept, power intact. That's the power of silence. And once you've mastered it, you never go back. When she starts noticing, so when she starts to wonder where the attention went, when she checks your page and sees no trail to follow, when she sends a vague message and all she hears is silence, she doesn't just feel ignored. She feels something deeper, replaced, not by another woman, but by something far more threatening, purpose. She senses that you no longer orbit her world, and that realization unsettles her, because you didn't go silent to get her back. You didn't disappear to create longing. You did it because you finally stopped asking for clarity from someone who chose confusion. You stopped explaining yourself, stopped waiting for a response, stopped performing emotional labor that was never reciprocated. You finally saw yourself and understood your worth wasn't tied to her recognition. That realization, it didn't just change how you feel, It changed who you are, not because your heart shut down, but because you finally shielded it. Silence, in this case, is not absence. It's control. It's not avoidance. It's protection. And when you stopped chasing her, you started facing yourself. You filled the silence with discipline, movement, creation. And now, she starts to notice. It never happens right away. Not the way most men imagine. No sudden phone call. No heartfelt apology. It creeps in quietly. She lingers a little longer on your photos. She scrolls but doesn't like anything. She revisits your stories, not out of nostalgia, but confusion. You were supposed to wait. You were supposed to chase. You were supposed to be stuck in that emotional loop forever. But now, you've become unreadable. Your silence creates an unexpected vacuum, and where she once had emotional control, she now finds distance. She can't bridge, because she no longer knows how you feel, or if you feel anything at all. And that lack of predictability, it disrupts her balance. Because human beings don't just want control, they fear losing it. So she might test the waters, a vogue message, a comment on something old, an emoji with no context. But none of these are declarations. They're probes. She's not reaching out for you. She's reaching inward, trying to understand her own reaction to your absence. Because the door that once stood open, the one she thought she could return through any time, is now shut. And she's not sure how to feel about that. She tries to gauge how much of you is still emotionally available, how much of your heart still reacts, how much of your attention she still commands. But you've stopped responding, not just in messages, but in energy. She feels it, even if she never says it, even if she stays silent. She feels it because the emotional tether she once relied on is gone. And what replaced it? Stillness, presence, purpose. She used to feel adored. Now she feels unacknowledged. Not because you're punishing her, but because you no longer seek her recognition. You no longer give her the power to shape your identity. She doesn't know how to place herself in your life anymore, and that is the shift. Because she used to be the reference point, the measuring stick for your joy, your pain, your ambition. Now, she's no longer in the equation, and that creates emotional dissonance because she sees it clearly. Your life isn't stagnant. It's moving, growing, becoming, not out of revenge, but evolution. Your silence isn't a tactic. It's a transition. It means you've stopped defining your life around someone who left. You've started defining it around someone who stayed, you. And when your life starts reflecting growth, not performance, but real change, it shows. Your posture changes, your tone deepens, your gaze sharpens, your smile becomes honest. And that version of you, she doesn't recognize him because he's not begging, he's not asking, he's not performing. He's present, focused, composed, and above all, is unavailable, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. He no longer reacts. He no longer flinches. He no longer waits for closure because he already gave it to himself. And that's when the tension hits her, not because she wants you back, but because she realizes she no longer has influence, and maybe she never meant to lose it, but it's gone. She's now on the outside, watching a man she once knew become someone she can't reach. And the hardest part, you didn't do it to make her feel anything. You did it because you finally stopped needing to feel something through her. You stopped negotiating your peace. You stopped tying your worth to someone else's presence. You stopped chasing what wasn't reaching back. And in doing so, you became unshakable, not because you built walls, but because you built a foundation Not because you closed your heart, but because you finally centered it. And now, you're no longer waiting to be noticed. You're no longer lingering in hope. You're walking in purpose. She may notice, she may not, but it no longer matters. Because you didn't become this man for her. You became him. For you. You didn't lose her. You outgrew her. And that's not something you'll ever need to explain, because it doesn't show up in a single moment. It shows up in all the little ones you used to break under, that now you walk through with calm. Most men never fully grasp how far they've come, because healing isn't loud, it's not posted, it's not rewarded, it's done in silence. You don't get applause for choosing peace over pain. You don't get credit for walking away when every part of you wanted to stay. You don't get recognized for no longer responding to the things that used to ruin you. But the results, they're undeniable. One day, you look up and you're no longer flinching at her name, no longer rehearsing conversations that never happened, no longer checking if she saw your story. You're just free, not because she gave you closure, but because you finally realized you didn't need it. True growth isn't found in revenge, or rebound, or who wins the breakup. It's found in your stillness, in the way you no longer bend for approval, in how you stay grounded when silence returns, in how you carry yourself when no one's watching. You're no longer triggered by what used to tear you apart. The same patterns that once pulled you into self-doubt now pass through you. Her absence no longer feels like loss. Her opinion no longer holds weight. Her energy no longer steers your direction. And maybe it didn't happen all at once. Maybe it came in waves. Long nights of silence, weeks of confusion, quiet mornings where you had to rebuild from nothing. But here you are now, present, composed, intentional. And not because she returned, but because you did. You returned to your values, to your strength, to your center, and the life you're living now. It's no longer defined by her presence or her absence. It's defined by you. She no longer gets to appear and affect your rhythm. She no longer gets to press a button and watch you fall apart. She no longer holds emotional access to your peace. And that access, it used to be her comfort zone, but now it's closed, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with growth, because your life didn't pause when she left. It didn't fall apart. It accelerated. The moment you stopped waiting for someone who already walked away, you gave yourself permission to become the man you were meant to be, without needing her to see it, validate it, or participate in it. That's what it means to outgrow her. Not just to survive the pain, but to become someone even she wouldn't recognize. Someone stronger, more focused, more rooted. A man who no longer seeks closure because he became the closure. You stopped explaining your worth. You stopped revisiting conversations that never gave clarity. You stopped negotiating your self-respect. Now, your time is invested in your body, your discipline, your peace. What used to be emotional dependency has matured into self-respect, and she feels the void where your attention used to live. She notices the absence of the man who once placed her at the center of his emotional world, and whether she says it or not, something in her knows. She no longer has the power to shift you. She doesn't get to wander back into your life and expect the same version of you to be waiting because he's gone. You're no longer writing your story with her as the backdrop. You're no longer living in a chapter she authored. You've taken back the pen. And now, your narrative unfolds without needing her input. Your success doesn't need her applause. Your peace doesn't require her permission. And your happiness isn't waiting for her return. That's real growth. That's the moment the game changes, because you didn't just move on. You evolved beyond the version of you that ever needed her to begin with. And when she sees that, through your energy, your silence, your forward motion, she doesn't just feel distance, she feels disconnection. She realizes you've become a man. She no longer has access to, and that, my brother, is the win no one can take from you. You don't have to post it. You don't have to prove it. You live it. If you made it this far, it means you're not broken. You're building. You're not lost. You're learning. You're not disparate. You're dangerous. Because you've stopped chasing and started becoming. So if this message hit you where it needed to, like this video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below with one word, untouchable, not for validation, but as a reminder to yourself that you are no longer someone who begs, bends, or breaks for the wrong woman. You are not what she forgot. You are what she'll never have access to again. This channel exists for men like you, men who don't settle, men who rise. There are brothers out there drowning in silence, thinking they're alone. By engaging here, you make sure they hear the truth you just heard. Because this isn't just content, it's a mindset, it's a shift, it's a movement, and you're part of it now. You're not broken, you're just getting started.